And speaking of volatile situations, Matt Hardy and Edge had a match at this pay-per-view, and this was right after the Matt Hardy and Lita breakup when Lita cheated on Matt with Edge. This is all fucking real-life shit. I have not been to a WWE show in 9 years. One of the last shows I ever attended was in Raleigh, North Carolina for a SmackDown taping right before WrestleMania 21. And let me tell you, the cat was out of the bag. I don't even know if the cat was out of the bag on the internet yet. I don't know if fans knew what was going on between Lita and Edge and Matt Hardy, but the motherfucking fans in North Carolina sure as hell did. That was Matt Hardy's backyard. And the crowd was tearing Lita apart. I'm not even sure if I remember Lita being out there that night. I just remember chants of Lita is a slut and all this crap. I mean, if it was a SmackDown show, Edge and Lita might not have been on the show. Or maybe Edge was. Well, one of them was. I can't even remember now. But there was all sorts of you screwed Matt chants and Lita's a slut chants and all this stuff. The crowd was just fucking raging over this because I think news of all of this had just broken. If the internet didn't know about it yet, they were about to. And this was a real deal. I mean, Lita and Matt Hardy were a couple. And this was back when Edge had heat with the internet fans. I talked about earlier how him and Christian never got any respect during the TLC matches, where fans still didn't really like this guy around 2005. They thought he was a jerk-off. They thought he was like a Randy Orton type guy, you know, with a big ego, and he's a snotty motherfucker, and here he is stealing another guy's girlfriend, and he's just a dirty bastard. You know, to me, I don't care. This is what happens when you mix girls in the locker room. I mean, it just happens all the fucking time. It's going to happen. It's not the first time it's happened. It's definitely not the last. But what was so interesting about this is that it got really heated. Matt Hardy, you know, he's a country boy. You know, I'm from the parts where Matt Hardy is from. I know how those people are. And I think some of Matt Hardy's close friends were ready to fuck Edge up if they got the chance, you know. So people were kind of out for Edge, and people were really defending Matt Hardy. The internet wrestling fans were behind him. Most wrestlers were behind him, and Matt Hardy had a lot of friends behind him too. And the WWE, foolishly, in order to cool off this whole situation, who do they release? They release Matt Hardy. This is the typical type of shit that the WWE does, how at the end of the day, they don't give a shit about anybody except themselves. They decide that these people have to be separated and they have to be released, but Matt Hardy would be a better guy to release than Edge, because we don't want to lose Edge. Forget the fact that he's the cause of all this. We're going to keep him around because he's a big star for us who makes money, and he's unreleasable. Matt Hardy, while he's a decent-sized roster member, will basically be fine without him, and if he wanted to go leave and go over to TNA or whatever, no big deal, we don't give a shit. Well, the fans fucking lost it, just like they lost it when Daniel Bryan would be released 5 years later. They lost it when Matt Hardy was released. The outrage and the outpouring of support for Matt Hardy was so strong. I mean, WWE felt the pressure right away, and I think it was only a matter of weeks and they brought Matt Hardy back in. And what the most interesting thing about this is they made a storyline out of it. I mean, that would just be so incredibly hard to do. If I was in Matt Hardy's shoes, or Edge's shoes, or Lita's shoes for that matter, I do not think I would be able to go through with this. It would be so hard to go out there and have a fake fight with the guy that stole my girlfriend. How in the fuck can you possibly act professional out there? How the hell did Matt Hardy not tear Edge's head off when they started working a program together? I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that fucking conversation when Lita and Matt Hardy and Edge all sat down together and hashed things out in a fucking hotel room. Or maybe it was at a WWE show, wherever the hell it was. Vince might have even been involved in that, but they all got together and agreed to fucking do business. And although it makes for a great storyline, it could potentially make for great TV, I just think that would be incredibly hard to do and incredibly awkward for two guys that were friends. I mean, Matt Hardy and Edge were tight. They went to war together in all those TLC matches over the years. You know, they were brothers, you know, the Hardys and Edge and Christian, and this really tore the friendship apart. I don't think anything was ever the same again with Edge or Matt Hardy or Jeff Hardy for that matter, because Jeff, you know, was Matt's brother, and he held a little grudge against Edge as well. I'm curious to know where everybody stands in their lives now after all of this. Everybody is now married or just off on different relationships. Edge is married, I believe, to Beth Phoenix. Lita is off, obviously, probably with another boyfriend. And Matt Hardy, I'm pretty sure, is dating somebody. So now that this has been 10 years later, I wonder if all these, I wonder if they've ever talked, or I wonder what the relationship is between the three of them. If they have, I think Edge and Lita have a good relationship, despite the fact they're not together anymore. But I'm just wondering how much bad blood still exists to this day over this. because this was a strange time. I remember when Matt Hardy showed up on Raw and attacked Edge backstage for the first time. I mean, they did a really good job of making you think for a second that that was legit. I think it could have been done a little bit better. I would have liked to see Matt Hardy, maybe grab Edge over the barricade, from the crowd or something like that, but instead of sneaking up on him in the backstage area. But when you saw him, I was relieved. I'm like, oh, thank God they're bringing Matt Hardy back in. It was okay. The SummerSlam match was just a brawl where Matt Hardy was just beaten into a bloody pulp and couldn't compete, couldn't defend himself anymore. The referee had to stop the match and award the victory to Edge. Now imagine that if you're Matt Hardy. Here my girlfriend leaves me in real life for another wrestler, a rival of mine on the WWE roster. Now I'm going to get rehired back, come into the company, have to work a program with the guy that took my girlfriend, and get my ass kicked by him. Man, that had to be hard to do, and man, I hope they were paying Matt Hardy good money for that. I think Matt Hardy did get one victory in the series of matches they had. I think he won a cage match or something like that with Edge, but what wound up happening after this feud went on for maybe a month or two, they finally did the loser leaves Raw match 1 week on TV. And that was a way for the feud to be blown off. Edge would get the victory, sending Matt Hardy over to SmackDown. That way all these guys are separated.